Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast. It is Monday, September 11th. I'm your host, Jon Jeune, and I've got my guy with me, Greg Pennamon. Week 1 recap. Here to break down all the action from week 1 thus far. Greg, how you feeling so far this week?
Emotionally, spiritually, I'm pretty hurting right now. The fantasy wise, it was a cool week. Got some wins in my matchups, but that matchup last night with the Giants, man, that I'm gonna never forget 9/11, and I'm gonna never forget what happened last night. That was probably the most embarrassing game, probably in sports history. Like, arguably, that's up there with the worst games I've ever seen in my life. Well, in my life, definitely number one. I'm sure it's in people older than me definitely would say in their lifetime probably the most embarrassing football game they've ever seen in their life. That was crazy. That was watching like one of the college football, like Alabama versus San Diego State, some like random state name. Like it was crazy. It was crazy. I mean, I could go on, but we got to recap everything else that actually happened in the show. It was crazy.
I'm sorry for you.
I turned it off in the mid-second quarter. I couldn't reserve myself to that. Coco Gauff showed up. Probably her first like Giants game. Hopefully it wasn't. That was crazy. It was wild that they had to subject her to that.
Oh, man, I'm really sorry, man. It was rough, man. I was watching that game at some point. It was 19-0. I was like, damn. I'm gonna go ahead and shut this one off. Not much. Good decision. Not much to really watch here. But hey, some fancy stuff happened. I saw you edged out a win in the League of Extraordinary People.
Shout out Atlanta's defense, baby. Stream of the week.
Yes, sir. Yes. So we'll break down all of it. We'll the week that was. But obviously, everybody, if you're listening, thank you for joining us. It's our Monday recap show. We are a little early today. We're on at noon. It is actually noon right now. So we're on live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Also, this will be posted on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, all those podcast platforms later on today. But our typical Monday show where we're going to break down basically the studs and the Jags. Jags are not the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are just the guys that you could have, you could have put Greg in your lineup, and you had to, basically got the same production out of these guys that you did this week. Or pretty much close to it. So also we're going to break down some injuries. We're going to talk about the guys on the waiver wire that you might want to target ahead of the waiver period on Wednesday or on Tuesday and Wednesday. So without further ado, let's kind of just jump into it. And we're going to start with our quarterback Swags, man. And the number one quarterback on the week, Tua Tagovailoa. 28 of 45, 466 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, also added 5 rushing yards. This game had such a high total going into the game. I think we talked about it as being the game of the week in terms of the amount of points that would come out of it. Greg, any surprise here by Tua's performance, man?
No. I mean, a healthy Tua last year was putting up numbers like this. A healthy Tua this year coming out the gate. Is going to put up big-time numbers with this offense. Prior to arguably the best wide receiver duo in the league with Hill and Waddle, they're going to get it done every week. I think there's just matchup nightmares for defenses. It's crazy. So Tua, as long as he stays healthy, man, he's got everything is in front of him for success-wise fantasy, success-wise for the team, all of that.
Yeah, DraftKings Sportsbooks jumped their MVP odds for Tua up to plus 700. That's equal to Patrick Mahomes. So they're co-betting favorites there. So Vegas telling you what they think of Tua after the week 1 performance. I mean, I slept on Tua coming into his when he was a prospect coming out. I had thought that Burrow was much better than him. I thought that Herbert was potentially even better than him. And I didn't really see what made Tua like a top 5 pick, right? And I've been wrong on that, and I'll be the first to admit it, right? I mean, he's been every bit of the top 5 quarterback that he was drafted to be. I mean, the weapons definitely help between Tua, Tyreek Hill, and Waddle. But we've seen guys get those weapons and not be productive in that realm either, right? So 466 yards, that's an astronomical number. Very good job here by Tua. And I think as long as he stays healthy, Moran's been doing his jiu-jitsu. He's been learning how to fall. So apparently, hopefully that keeps him healthy, because this is a sight to see for sure if he keeps trucking the ball like this.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Moving on to QB2 of the week, another former Alabama quarterback. Who knew Alabama first they couldn't get quarterbacks? Now they're a quarterback school between Tua, Jalen Hurts, and now this guy Jones, the QB2 on the week. 35 pass completions on 54 attempts. That's a large number there. 316 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Also added 15 rushing yards. Greg, what was the thoughts on the performance by Tua, or by Mac Jones rather?
Yeah, I think that was a product of the game flow. They were down really early often. It was down 16-0 to like start, I think, within the first like 10 minutes of the game. So they, had to pick up the pace second half. He got things going, especially to Kendrick Bourne. So that's definitely a good sight there. So he finds a target for him to play. And I think this is a good sign for him that he can, in these games where he needs to come back, the game scripts, when they're behind, that he could produce and put up some yards.
Yeah, I mean, I this is one of those here, right, where because I'm looking at the past, the number of attempts here, I don't think Mac Jones is going to do that every week, and I don't think Belichick doesn't want to do that every week. This is not one where I'm going to run and be like, I'm going to pick up Mac Jones off waivers because he's going to do this every single week. I think this was game plan specific, like you said, some of the game script dependent. But I also think Bill Belichick looked at this, him and his coaching staff probably looked at this Philly defense and said, okay, well, what do we not want to do against Philly? We don't want to run the football. Let's try to beat them with this, short passing game, paper death by 1,000 paper cuts. Mac Jones, nice performance here, but just let's temper expectations if we think this is going to happen every week. The QB3 on the week, somebody.
Not this guy here.
Not this guy. This guy, I think this is a trend that we buy into. I know you were really into him. And again, we're not going to do the whole week 1 victory lap thing here, but we're going to call it like we see it, man. Jordan Love, the QB3 on the week. This is a guy that you were, I could feel it, as we were streaming and we're doing the show, like you are really into Jordan Love this year. I'm a believer in Jordan Love as well. 15 of 27, 245 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, also added 12 rushing yards. Greg, what'd you think of the new owner of the Chicago Bears, Jordan Love, and his performance on Sunday?
Yeah, man, just got his new deed and everything. He looked comfortable in this offense. I mean, it makes sense. 3 years under the system. You see it here. He knows where to go. Knows what the reads are. Trusted. Used Aaron Jones. That's key. Like helping him in that facet. Like because Aaron Jones probably the best, most talented player on the field in most games. So yeah, he played well. Jordan Love found Romeo Doubs for 2 of those. So yeah, I like the performance here. And he is under 50% roster. So, he's definitely going to be out there.
Yeah, definitely think. I love what you said, man. 3 years in the same system. People, constantly we see a player very early in their career and we think that's all that player will ever be. But we don't ever, for some reason, as fantasy analysts or fantasy players, we can't ever comprehend the idea of a player getting better, right? Like your first day at work, Greg, I'm sure you're not the same employee that you are today, right? You are much better today than you were your first day there. And it's the same thing with, NFL players, right? The first day they walk onto an NFL field, they are not going to be the same player that they will be after hours and hours of practice and repetition and film study. And I don't know, NFL coaching, right? So Jordan Love definitely am buying into this being a regular thing because he didn't even have your guy, his top weapon out there, and Christian Watson. So imagine, and we've seen this happen, right? Like with teams a bunch of times where they lose a key component of their offense or their defense midweek, right? Like the game plan was already up, it was ready, players knew what was going on, and now last minute they got to change all of these things because Christian Watson is not going to be available to them, and it's not the same as if you knew ahead of time that Christian Watson wasn't going to be available. So for them to adjust on the fly like this and Jordan Love to look as comfortable as he did, I think speaks volumes to the type of year that he could potentially have in front of him. And who knows, man? Green Bay, I guess they just have this thing where every 20 years they're just going to have Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
We thought it was New England, but I mean not Indianapolis, but it seems like it's Green Bay. Yeah,
no. All right, rounding out this top 12, man, of these quarterback swags. Anthony Richardson tying with Justin Herbert, my start of the week as the QB4. Deshaun Watson coming in at 6. Patrick Mahomes 7. Trevor Lawrence, your start of the week, coming in at 8. Brock Purdy coming in at 9. Kirk Cousins 10. Baker Mayfield coming in at 11. And then Russell Wilson tying with Sam Howell for the QB 12 on the week. Not a ton of fantasy points by those last two guys, but still enough for a top 12 performance, albeit Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers have not played yet. So keep that in mind. But anyways, Greg, any of these other any of these top 12 performances that really stick out to you after week 1?
Definitely like how Anthony Richardson played first career game. Like that's all you can ask for. He had them in the game. They had a shot to win. Showed his rushing with 40 yards rushing. Got a touchdown on the ground as well. He might need to learn how to start protecting himself rushing wise because he did get banged up a lot in that game. Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley, man, they're going to be a problem all year. It's going to be crazy out there. So that definitely looked good for them. But yeah, I'm not surprised by the low scores. Week 1, we were saying, offenses just take a little bit. Defenses are faster out the gate week 1. So not surprised.
Yeah, definitely not surprised there. Like you said, Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley, that's going to be a connection that's going to be tough to stop. I think, Brock Purdy looked pretty good.
Pretty good.
He just makes it look so easy and how efficient he is. It's just hard to want to buy into it because you're like, how is this kid who was Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft, how could he be this wildly efficient through, I don't know, what is it now, 9 starts now for Brock Purdy? So
Kyle Shanahan, man. Kyle Shanahan.
There we go. All right, man. Now, not for the not so goods, man. The quarterback Jags on the weekend. We've got some high draft capital on here. Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Justin Fields, Dak Prescott, Geno Smith, Daniel Jones. My stream of the week, I'm gonna just throw him out here because it wasn't great. Kenny Pickett. Do any of these performances really concern you, Greg?
Well, I would say like Dak for the other people. I mean, we both had him as our bust, so we knew this is kind of going to be a thing. I think the price he was going was really high. But too concerning, I would say probably Daniel Jones. Unless they get that rushing going, the floor is going to be a little lower. And I'm going to give Kenny Pickett another shot. As far as the week that he played against a top 2 defense, so I'm gonna let it slide on that one a little bit. But yeah, other than that, Joe Burrow had a horrible week 1 last year, like against Steelers. It was really bad. Like, so I'm not worried about that. Not worried about Hurts or Lamar or anybody.
Yeah. So the thing with Burrow is interesting, and I forgot who said this. I can't even give them credit for it, but Burrow was basically in the same spot week 1 this year that he was last year, right? He suffered an injury last year, had to miss a bunch of time. I forget what the injury was. I think it was the appendectomy, right? So he had missed a bunch of time, missed a bunch of preseason, and people think, as a quarterback, there's nothing physically that he has to really account for. He's not like somebody who relies on his mobility that much to make plays with his feet. But he started out the gate slow, and he was like that for like the first couple weeks of the season, and something very similar here in week 1. So I'm kind of willing to throw that one out. Lamar, Jalen Hurts. I mean, Lamar, we kind of knew, not kind of knew. I at least had an inkling because this Houston pass defense was really good last year, and then they bring in D'Amico Ryans, who's the head coach, former defensive coordinator for the Niners. So I figured they could just, they could probably give Lamar some trouble. The Dak Prescott, Daniel Jones one, I know we both had Dak as a bust, but in terms of how I react to the Dallas pieces and the Giants pieces, I'm throwing this game out because once you get into 40-0 territory, like nothing really makes any sense anymore at that point, right? Like,
yeah, that's true.
So, Daniel Jones, I'm going to give him another week. The Dallas defense is also a tough one as well. So,
yeah.
But all these other guys, I'm not necessarily overly concerned about. I mean, maybe Kenny Pickett, I could be concerned depending on how long Deontay Johnson could be out with his injury, but that I'll take a week by week basis.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move into these running back swags, man. Starting with the number 1 running back on the week, no Aaron Rodgers, no problem. Aaron Jones, 9 rush attempts, 41 rushing yards, 2 receptions, 86 receiving yards on 4 targets, 1 touchdown, 26.7 PPR points. Very efficient game here from Aaron Jones. So not a whole lot of volume, but you definitely still like to see the efficiency in the production. Greg, what do you think of the performance here by Aaron Jones?
Yeah, I feel like every week or just throughout his Packers career, anytime there was an injury, wide receiver stuff, you always be like, they got Aaron Jones, man. He's probably like the best running back, receiver type player out there. Like he really puts out, shows the speed, can route run, and everything. Like so definitely filled in that void for Christian Watson in this offense. And hopefully he's gonna be okay. He did pull up on that hammy at the end of that touchdown run. So he's stretching out on the sideline. He looked like he was in good spirits. So we'll monitor that throughout the week.
Yeah, man. I mean, Aaron Jones, like you said, one of the best dual threat player, like running backs out there. In terms of guys, like there's guys that can catch the ball out the backfield for sure. But like you said, the route running, like you could legitimately line up Aaron Jones out at receiver, have him run routes, catch the football. He's up there with the Christian McCaffreys and the Alvin Kamara's in that sense. So definitely like that. And if he's going to, he is one of the best, probably the best player on this offense right now, right? Like before, you used to say it was probably Aaron Rodgers for sure, right? Devontae Adams for sure. But now I think it's Aaron Jones. Like a healthy Aaron Jones is the best player on this offense. So he's the one. He's the guy who should touch the ball the most. Rational coaching is a fallacy a lot of times, but when you want to win football games, sometimes you got to give the ball to your best player. It's really that simple. Guy who doesn't have that problem, though, the number 2 running back on the week, Austin Eckler, 16 rush attempts, 117 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown, 4 receptions on 5 targets, 47 receiving yards, 26.4 PPR points. One thing I gathered from this is Miami's run defense is still as bad as we remember it was.
I was gonna say, I was like, either Josh Kelly improved or the Miami rush defense. I swear I didn't know the difference between the two. I'm like, Josh Kelly has never been this good. Like, so Miami's rush defense has to be bad. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, man. What'd you think of the overall performance by Eckler here?
Yeah, I mean, this is typical from my number 1 guy at the running back position. He's gonna be top 3 all year. I think this is something we expected. Good efficiency on the ground. Got the touchdown. Still showing his receiving stuff out there. Got 5 targets. So that's good to see. And the Chargers are gonna be in a lot of high scoring games all year. It looks like their defense. That they won against probably one of the best offenses in the league, but that secondary's got to start stepping it up a little bit. So they might be in a lot of shootouts this year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, right? Like we've seen this happen, right? Like a team, their their pass defense might be bad through the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, and then week 6, week 7, we're like, oh, let's go target them, and then something weird happens, and then we can't target them anymore. So let's target them while we can, right? So to that point, definitely. If they're going to get into a bunch of shootouts, they have the offensive weapons to stick in those games. So like that for sure. And then the RB3 on the week, no surprise here. Christian McCaffrey, 22 carries, $152, 1 rushing touchdown. Also added 5 targets, which he turned into 3 receptions and 17 receiving yards, 25.9 PPR points on the week. Greg, your thoughts on the performance here by CMC?
Gotta love the 22 carries. That's old school right there. Our old school, which is like 5-6 years ago. But yeah, giving him the carries, loving the groundwork. 25 total touches. I mean, that's McCaffrey, man. That's what he's been doing since he entered the league, getting good volume and being great with that volume.
Yeah, most definitely, man. And I mean, I didn't see much of this game, but this game 30. Well, it was a final score 30-7, I think it was.
They dominated the line of scrimmage, man. They just kept feeding McCaffrey, rushing, and then hit Ayuk over the middle. Yep.
Yeah, talk about that guy in a little bit, but rounding out these running back swags, man. RB4 on the week. This man will not go away. Tyler Algier. Running back 5, Tony Pollard. 6, Travis Etienne. 7, my running back start of the week, and Bijan Robinson. 8, Roshan Johnson. 9, Kyron Williams. 10, Nick Chubb. 11, Joshua Kelly. And 12, Ramondre Stevenson. Greg, any of these running back, these top 12 stick out? Or is there anybody in an honorable mention that you might want to shout out as well?
My running back start of the week, J.K. Dobbins, was going to have a huge day. He had a touchdown. He did everything. He tore his Achilles on the touchdown run. So it's really sad, man. It's really sad to see like his early career just been, just mad injuries just year after year. So great matchup. He played well. Hopefully, can get better and do what he has to do to return. But yeah, other than that, Kyron Williams, I like his performance there. Nick Chubb doing excellent on the ground. Just again being a great pure rusher, man. That you love to see. Roger Stevenson, even with a bad game script, not favorable for him, he was able to get some work on the passing. 6 targets, 6 receptions, 64 yards. That's a great sign for a running back for sure.
Yeah, I mean Ramondre, we know is gonna hold down that pass game role. The Derrick Henry one, I mean, he's not a Jag by any means, but I think the split in the snap usage and the usage with Tyjae Spears is probably going to scare folks a little bit. So something to monitor as we move towards this fantasy season. But let's talk about some running back Jags, man. And we got quite a few to discuss. Excuse me. Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, Cam Akers, Najee Harris, Rashad White, Deion Jackson. I mean, Antonio Gibson even. I mean, we both were like, this is probably not the Gibson game. Probably playing RB4 maybe. But I was not expecting that performance by Gibson.
I'm totally with you there.
Any of these performances that really stuck out to you in a negative way?
Negative way, I mean, Deion Jackson for sure. I mean, the man had Zach Moss scratch, not a healthy scratch, but he was injured before the game. Hall gets injured during the game. There's only one running back left on the team. Only one left, and he just didn't produce like that. It's crazy. So don't like to see that there. Rashad White, I think that's a little concerning as well. But Cam Akers. I was never really a big Cam Akers guy. Sean McVay has a love-hate relationship, I think, with Cam Akers. So that, especially Kyron Williams playing well, doesn't help him at all. So it might be, a rough year for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Cam Akers is only allowed to have up and down seasons. He's not allowed to have like a regular year where he's either good for the entire year or he's bad for the entire year. It's either got to be like he's gonna be really bad. But then we're going to hit a point of the season where he's going to be really, really good. So, but to be fair, he did have 22 rush attempts, turn that into 29 rushing yards and a touchdown.
They tried, and then Kyron Williams came in, and then he did what he had to do.
But it also, Kyron Williams outsnapped Cam Akers tremendously in the first half of this game. So this isn't even like a game. This wasn't even like Cam Akers, you're being ineffective. This was like no, Kyron Williams is going to be the guy we lean on. We're going to get out to this lead. And then Cam Akers, once we get this lead, you're going to do your best to hold it by running for almost 1 yard a carry.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So Tough.
Rashad White, the efficiency wasn't great, but I think the volume is what you sign up for not
True.
what you sign up for with him, but what you would sign up for that volume with any running back, right? Like,
Yeah.
17
Absolutely.
had, I think, 4 targets in the pass game. So, I'm not concerned there. Najee Harris, right? He was playing against that vaunted San Fran defense. Joe Mixon, I throw out the whole Cincinnati Bengals. I just throw the whole thing out. You Saquon Barkley, same boat. And then Josh Jacobs, I'll be honest, I don't really know what his deal was. Probably have a better idea on how I feel about that as we get closer in the week. But I'm not right now. My gut reaction is to not overreact to that and just kind of throw that out as well.
Yeah, he's had slow starts before in the past. 19 carries, you like it there. 3 targets in the past game. He'll be fine.
All right, let's move on to the wide receiver position, the wide receiver Swags, and there's really only one guy to talk about right now. Tyreek Hill, man, 15 targets, 11 receptions, 215 receiving yards, 2 touchdown receptions, 44.5 PPR points. If you went against Tyreek Hill this week, you lost. Like, like you probably lost.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the performance here by Tyreek Hill?
I mean, the peace sign don't mean 2 no more. It means 2K, man. That's what he's going for. I really think that he can get that number. The way this Miami Dolphins offense is rolling. So yeah, love the performance here by Tyreek Hill. It's spooky season, man. When those DBs see that man lined up, like, it's really scary. I feel so bad for them. Like, he's so good.
Yeah, he is definitely a problem, and him and Tua have a connection that is definitely hard to stop. So, good luck to defenses out there. Not excited to see this man twice a year. I'll say that much. Let's move on to the number 2 wide receiver on the week. My guy, Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk, 8 receptions, 129 receiving yards, 2 touchdown receptions, 32.9 PPR points. Greg, what do you think of the performance here by Brandon Ayuk?
8 receptions on 8 targets too. Gotta love that efficiency there. 129, the 2 touchdowns. Purdy looked him a lot in that red zone. So he came through there. This is a great sign for him. Getting out the gates to start, and yeah, if he can do this is a wide receiver 1 we're looking at here in this offense.
Music to
not
my
just
ears.
A wide receiver 1 on his team, a fantasy wide receiver 1.
Music to my ears. Honestly, it's been like 4 years, but we got here eventually. We're here.
Yeah, we're here.
Oof. All right, not going to overreact too much, but like you said, love the production here, and this is one of those things that this continued from last year, right? This is a continuation from last year, where when Ayuk, Samuel, Kittle, and Christian McCaffrey were all on the field with Brock Purdy, Brandon Ayuk was the lead target getter in those situations, right? Like, we obviously have the big games from Kittle. We have the big games from CMC, but we don't have a lot of data or a lot of scenarios where all 4 of those guys were on the field present with Brock Purdy starting at quarterback. But the data seems to trend Ayuk is the guy in those situations, and it's good to see that continue in this, in 2023.
Yeah, love it.
Moving on to the wide receiver 3 on the week. New uniform, no problem. Jacoby Myers, 9 receptions, 10 targets, 81 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, 29.1 PPR points on the day. What'd you think of the performance here by Jacoby Myers?
Yeah, I remember you were saying, mentioning him for our game prep. Jacoby Myers, like, he's got the opportunity, and I'm glad he took it. Especially with Devontae Adams getting Patrick Surtain. That man was shadowing him all game too. It was really there, like, and yeah, Jacoby Myers got the favorable matchups and did a lot with them. 10 targets. You love to see that there. And he got a concussion. He's in concussion protocol right now, so hopefully he's good to go for week 2. But yeah, he's definitely a guy I'm looking to grab on those waiver wires.
Yeah, it might be tough. He did take a really nasty hit. So obviously I'm not a medical professional. I have no idea how bad his concussion is. Make some plans, some arrangements to not have him if he's on your bench and you're banking on playing him. If you're going to pick him off waivers, just understand it might be like a 2-week wait before you can actually get the production out of him. But rounding out this top 12 here, man, the wide receiver 5 on the week, 4 Kendrick Bourne, 5 Calvin Ridley, 6 Justin Jefferson, 7 Michael Pittman Jr., 8 Puka Nacua, 9 Chris Olave, which I believe was your start of the week.
No. It was Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley. Man.
Yes, sir.
Calvin Ridley, Greg start of the week. My bad. And then 10 Amon-Ra St. Brown, 11 Rashid Shaheed, and then 12 Romeo Dobbs, time with Mike Evans for the wide receiver 12. A lot of good wide receiver performances this week, Greg. Honorable mentions, top 12 is just spit them out. Anybody that really stuck out to you that you were really excited to see that production?
Yeah, no, I'm really excited for Calvin Ridley, Michael Pittman, Mike Evans, and Chris Olave because they were all 4 in my FanDuel lineup. Ooh, that was crazy, man. All 4 of them boys in my FanDuel lineup carrying me to a victory there. So shout out to them, man. Yeah, I know. Dallas got a really was he was playing for you. Really, he saw, he thought he could have got that dub for you, but we're glad to see the receivers pull through for us and for me. And Rashid Shaheed, love that he's building off of last year. He definitely is a name that we're gonna bring up as well. 6 targets, 5 for 89. Love to see that there.
Yeah, man, Rashid Shaheed just continuing that efficiency from last year. Puka Nacua, though, 15 targets, man.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah. I gotta imagine he's somebody we're talking about.
Yeah.
Even
Tutu Atwell got targeted 8 times too. Yep.
Yeah, 119 receiving yards. You talked about Zay Jones being a guy you could play. He came through big time here. 5.
And the other Zay too.
The other Zay Flowers, you talked about him. Shame on me. I talked you off of Zay into OBJ as being the wide receiver to play. That all rhymed. Wasn't even trying to do that there. Bars. But
bars.
But Zay Flowers, man, his first game, 10 targets, 9 receptions, 78 receiving yards. That is a game there from the rookie wide receiver.
And just the yak, he looked like the best wide receiver for them. Like, it just, the moves he's making, very shifty. He's going to be a guy. They're going to give him to right at the line of scrimmage and just let him work.
I mean, he earned the nickname, which I have not heard since Dante Hall had it back in the 90s. But the human joystick, that is what that's what they've been calling Zay Flowers since minicamp. So, might be onto something here.
Yeah.
All right, now let's get a little upset now. Let's talk about some of these wide receiver Jags. And again, I'm willing to throw like 3 of these 4 out. And maybe even the 4th one I have here. So I got Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins, and DJ Moore. Actually, I'm willing to throw all 4 of them out, honestly. But in terms of, I'm not concerned about Jamar Chase. I'm not concerned about CeeDee Lamb. Also not concerned about T. Higgins. I mean, the game wasn't great. You would have liked him to have more than 0 fantasy points. But then when you check the box score, he had 8 targets. So, I mean, the chances he goes out and has another 8 target, 0 catch game is very, 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 very. It's very close to non-zero. So, Greg, what are your thoughts here on these guys? Are you concerned about any of them, including DJ Moore?
Definitely not concerned about the first 3. DJ Moore, if I had to choose one, it'd be him. But I'm a wait and see a little bit to see how that Bears offense hopefully improves next week. I don't want to go into week 3, week 4 saying like how again the Bears are not using Fields right, not using his offense right. So hopefully they could get it together. So yeah.
Yeah, same. I agree with you there. I got nothing else. Nobody. Oh, Drake London. I know that's another one. He got a 0. Look, man, people are gonna tilt, right? And they are. But Drake London, I'm assuming, Greg, because you've had some thoughts on Atlanta's pass offense. Are you concerned about Drake London's outlook rest of season based on what happened week 1 against Carolina?
I think it'd be hard for him to ever be considered a strong wide receiver 1 or strong. I think mid-tier wide receiver 2, low-end wide receiver 2 is where he can kind of make his butter. But just the explosiveness, out of this offense, I feel like I mean, give it some time, but even the passing, like the running backs got the receptions as well. Like they're throwing to the running backs too. Like they only see RBs there on that team. It seems like but I mean, the talent for Drake London is really high. So I mean, you think eventually they got to use them. Maybe in a game where they're down, Atlanta, the defense dominated. They were, it wasn't really back and forth too much. So yeah, maybe they really saw that they could use the running backs here.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it some time as well. I said this on the Thursday show rather. People are gonna tilt. People in your leagues are going to tilt, right? Like Drake London, don't be surprised if he hits waivers in one of your leagues. T. Higgins, probably less likely, but also don't be surprised. And if you play in a casual league, it's very possible that doesn't happen. All right. Obviously, if you play in a high stakes league, it's most likely not going to happen. But in some of these casual leagues, it's very likely. So just keep that in mind, and just keep your eyes peeled for who's getting dropped on these when people process some of these transactions for the waivers. Anybody else you want to highlight, Greg, as a potential jag here?
No, I think CeeDee Lamb again. That was gameplay. So yeah, I think we're fine.
All right, let's move on to the tight end swags, man. The tight end position, the number one tight end on the week. Again, in a week where there was no Travis Kelce, we had no Mark Andrews. We came into the week thinking that we would have no Kittle, but we understood that we'd have at least a limited Kittle. Yeah, Hunter Henry is your tight end one of the week. 5 catches on 6 targets, 56 receptions, and a touchdown. 16.6 PPR points. Any thoughts, Greg, on the performance here by Hunter Henry?
Yeah, he looked good for Mac Jones. I mean, that was probably one pass catcher that kind of helped Mac Jones in previous years. So they paid a high price for him when they traded for him, and I think he can definitely produce some tight end one weeks this year. I think this is here to stay.
Yeah, I was on Mike Gesicki, not very much on Hunter Henry. Which again, this is very tough because both of these players, Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki, are both. It's not like one's. I think when we had the Jonnu Smith, right, when they signed Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith out of free agency, it was very much like, well, Hunter Henry is the pass catcher, Jonnu Smith is like the blocker, so he's pretty much you could pretty much tell your story about how these roles are going to be defined. Well, Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki, like they're both big receivers, so like, which one of these guys is really going to fill that role? And I guess it came down to the guy that Mac is more comfortable with in Hunter Henry this time around. So, probably maybe there was some fatigue there with a guy like Hunter Henry because people are drafting him for so long. It feels like now, but yeah, I'm curious to see how this kind of plays out. This distribution of targets and usage plays out throughout the rest of the year. The tight end 2 on the week, Hayden Hurst, 7 targets, 5 catches, 41 receiving yards, and a touchdown, 15.1 PPR points. This is kind of what I was anticipating from Tyler Higbee, right? Like you've got passing weapons out. You are playing in this matchup here where the quarterback is down some receiving targets, and I think it also helps that you've got a rookie quarterback here that you've talked about a lot too as well. He's going to lean on the tight end position. That's exactly what Hayden Hurst was for Bryce Young. Greg, you think this is sustainable rest of season, or is this something that you think is a one-off here?
No, I think he can also give you some tight end 1 weeks. I think he's going to be in streaming conversation, every week, especially rookie quarterback. As well, Hayden Hurst is a talented player. I mean, the Atlanta went for him in the draft, and yeah, I think he's got some talent on this team. So I think he's going to be able to produce some solid weeks.
Yeah, Baltimore drafted him highly. They actually drafted him first round ahead of Mark Andrews. Turned around, traded him to Atlanta, and then I think he left Atlanta to go sign with Cincy, but now he's in Carolina. And yeah, like you said, the talent is there. Going to play with a rookie quarterback who should lean on him for some opportunities there. So definitely like that. The tight end 3 on the week, TJ Hawkinson, 9 targets, 8 receptions, 35 receiving yards there, 11.5 PPR points on the week. Greg, your thoughts on the performance by TJ Hawk?
Yeah, I'm would have been surprised if he didn't finish top 3 with all the big names out. I'm glad he did. Got the targets and the receptions. Not too much on the yardage area there. But for him to finish top 3 without a touchdown is always a good sign.
Yeah, definitely. That game was weird too, right? Like you were expecting Minnesota to really win it, and kind of hold the lead here. But they did fall into some negative game script, and it turns out Hawk, did see 9 targets. You just would like to see more receiving yards with that, which I think that will come for sure. So not concerned by any means there for TJ Hawkinson. Rounding out this top 12, Donald Parham, tight end 4, Evan Ingram, tight end 5, Cole Kmet 6, Blake Bell 7, Sam Laporta 8, Harrison Bryant 9, Adam Troutman 10, Logan Thomas 11, and Zach Ertz 12. And we're going to throw out an honorable mention, our co-stream of the week there, Luke Musgrave, I think finished as the tight end 13 or so with 8 PPR points. Greg, any of these performances that stick out to you positively?
Yeah, I do like the Luke Musgrave place there. Evan Ingram, I'm glad he had a good, solid play, good game as well. And Cole Kmet, always a guy that has talent. Always want him to step up. Glad he was able to get in that top 12 as well.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it wasn't going to be tough to get into this top 12 when you don't have Kelsey, you don't have Andrews, you've got Kittle banged up, Waller was banged up, at least going into the week. So
I just mean if you're a Jag as a tight end, you're really, really a Jag. Then I mean, crazy.
Yeah, it was really bad for you to be a Jag, but there's somebody who wasn't a Jag. And that was our touchdown or not tight end of the week.
Okay.
They finished as a top 12 tight end. And for everybody that doesn't know, our touchdown, this kind of started, we go through the top 12 and be like, all right, who's going to, at what point did you catch a touchdown or not, right? Like, because that's pretty much what it comes down to tight ends at some point. And so the touchdown or not tight end of the week usually goes to the tight end who finished in the top 12, who had the least amount of receiving yards and least amount of catches. And this week, that goes to our guy, Harrison Bryant. Because my man finishes a top 12 tight end. The tight end 9. You don't know what that stat line looks like, Greg? 2 catches for 5 yards.
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, the 2 targets, though. He called both of them at least.
Both there you go. 2 catches for 5 yards, catches a touchdown there. The touchdown and not tight end of the week. Now, I know for a fact.
Maybe not. Pat Farber should have been there too. He may have 1 catch for a touchdown too. That's crazy.
But
1 catch, 3 yards.
Meet the most important criteria. You got to finish tight end 1.
Wow. But
Harrison Bryant, I mean, I have it on pretty good authority that touchdown didn't help anybody. Like nobody started Harrison Bryant in any league where that was providing any value there.
It helped Deshaun Watson managers. That's it.
That's it. And people that bet on the Cleveland Browns. That's about it.
Yeah.
But we got to talk about the tight end Jags. Well, I do want to say one thing before we move on. And I hope, because Greg, we all know that, if you watch the show for a while, Greg is the one who primarily will hit us with the waivers. But Sam Laporta, my breakout tight end of the year, played on Thursday night. Stat line's not that crazy, right? Five catches for 39 receiving yards. But he did have 5 targets, right? So he caught all 5 of his targets. And he played a somewhat of a limited role. But when he was on the field, and he caught the football, just the way he moved, the way he caught the football, you could tell, this guy's going to be a good player. So,
yeah.
Finish as a tight end 1. I mean, the tight end landscape. Give me this guy, right? Give me this guy. I'll take him over Hayden Hurst, just purely based on athleticism, upside, right? Like, give me like I will bet on Sam Laporta.
That's how I feel about Jake Ferguson, honestly, because I think Dak Prescott looked his way. He didn't have a really good performance output wise. Not a lot of people in the Cowboys offense did. They didn't need to, but I think eye test wise, he's going to be a factor this year.
Yeah, and that's a great transition because Jake Ferguson ends up on a Jag list because he's a guy that we talked about as being, hey, maybe you want to play him. We did have that weird thing like, I'd rather wait till after Monday to see how he's used before I really commit. But like you said, the 7 targets led all Dallas receivers in 7 targets. It seemed like they were making a concerted effort to try to get him the football, get him involved, like he was a part of this offense. So I definitely love that analysis there with Jake Ferguson. So he's definitely a guy I'm not hitting the panic button on. I'm going to go pick up off waivers and stick them out because those targets there, that's what really matters more than the output.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's time to talk about some not so great situations. And the top tight end that we're talking about on the Jags is going to be Kyle Pitts.
Do you just leave his name there? Like,
yeah, I don't have to.
Yeah.
Actually, Microsoft Word, it's predictive, so it's just like Kyle Pitts. But yeah, so I think he had 3 catches for 44 yards. I think it was.
Yeah, he did.
And I think the 44 yards was on like 1 reception, or not 1 reception, but
it was. He had a big play. Yeah, he had a big
play down the field. I did not watch the game, so I can't even really speak to it, Greg. But I'm gonna ask you, what did you see?
Jake London had a 0-point day, so I think collectively the pass offense in general was slacking. So I can't really single out Kyle Pitts as far as like having a bad performance. So like you said, second year quarterback, not a lot of game experience. I think Atlanta's defense will probably be they carried the way yesterday. Didn't have to do too much and relying on the passing game. So I think next couple weeks. So I do want to see something. I'll give it week 2, week 3. You want to see something as they play better teams, and that's just going to have to test them and have to make them, throw the ball.
Yeah, well, they play the Green Bay Packers next week.
Okay.
So hopefully they gets a little bit more competitive there.
Then at Detroit, they gotta have to put up some points.
Jacksonville the week after.
Yep.
That's 3 weeks.
Put some points.
We're gonna learn something these next 3 weeks.
Yep.
We're gonna have to learn something for sure. I will say, I'm a glutton for punishment. So if you have Kyle Pitts shares and you're sharing, you're selling, I will buy. Because like I said, I'm a glutton for punishment. I don't know any better. So, and I'm kind of I'm really dug in on this Kyle Pitts thing. So I just got to see it through.
Just got to see it through, man. You have to at least with Ayuk, like he'll have huge games. Like you see it, like
I'm holding on to that 30-yard reception, Greg. Didn't you see that? Did you see him back the football like a wide receiver?
Oh man.
All right. Some other guys, Darren Waller, not great performance. Again, throwing out everything with the Giants. Tyler Higbee, my start of the week. Not a great performance. Dallas Goedert, your start of the week. Also joined Drake London with the 0 club.
Crazy.
Jake Ferguson, we talked about. Dalton Schultz, that one kind of scares me a little bit because, CJ Stroud threw the ball a pretty decent amount. There was a lot of negative game script, and Dalton Schultz was just 2 targets, I think it was, 4 receiving yards. Just not a great day by him. And then Isaiah Likely was a popular waiver wire ad Monday or Sunday morning with the Mark Andrews news, and that did not come to fruition at all. I guess we talked about Kyle Pitts already. Are you concerned in any? I guess I'm just going to throw out the names. You tell me simply yes or no if you're concerned, and we'll go from there. Darren Waller.
No.
Tyler Higbee.
No.
Yes. Dallas Goedert.
No.
Jake Ferguson.
No.
Dalton Schultz.
Maybe, but I'm not. Though if it's too concerned, maybe a little concerned. Yes, not too concerned.
Yeah. And then Isaiah Likely, I'm not gonna. It's not.
Yeah.
That was like a 1 week thing.
He's the only thing.
Kyle Pitts.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Yeah. I think I'm with you on all that too as well. Maybe Tyler Higbee is probably the one where I'd be like, well, they didn't really need him. Didn't seem like they needed him at all. They won.
Yeah, that's true.
They blew out Seattle, but and they had Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell killing it. So, all right, let's move on. Let's talk about some injuries. And we have quite a few bit of injuries to discuss. J.K. Dobbins out for the season with what looks like to be a torn Achilles. So that's definitely a big blow there. Jacoby Myers questionable for week 2 with a concussion. Aaron Jones, precautionary hamstring injury, pulled himself from the game. But like you said, it seems to like he said, not too concerned with it. I think the game flow and the game script, the score at the time, just they didn't need him to come back in the game, so it was not really it there. Deontay Johnson, he left Sunday's game with a hamstring injury, so that's definitely a little concerning. And then Mike Williams of the LA Chargers, he's expected to be okay after taking a hit to the head and going to concussion protocol, but seems like he's good to go there. Greg, how does this impact our waivers? What are we looking at? I guess let's start at the quarterback position. And why are we going after Jordan Love aggressively?
Yeah, Jordan Love, the only name I got here, 15% roster. Just eye test, he looked the best out of all the waiver wire guys that are out there. Didn't have his main guy, Christian Watson. He still balled out. Got it to his other receivers. Got it to Aaron Jones. 3 years under system. I think a team that's going to be good this year and going to be a good offense this year. So I think Jordan Love, top 3 performance this week. I wouldn't be surprised if he continues to put up QB1 numbers, at least in being a borderline QB1 throughout the year. So yeah, he's going to be able to win you guys matchups.
Yeah, definitely love that one there. What about running back? What do we got?
The running back position. So I know, J.K. Dobbins, the first thing people will go for is Justice Hill and Gus Edwards. Justice Hill, 3% rostered. Gus Edwards, 20% rostered. Justice Hill did get the goal line carries. He was able to get in the end zone like 2 times, actually. So it looks like they, are going to use him. He was always a name that everyone was popular about when he came in the league and everything like that. I mean, I think we know what we're going to get from Gus Edwards at this point as far as, give me 10 to 15 carries, probably like 40 to 50 rushing yards, and maybe a touchdown. So I think he's more of like a floor RB3, but I think Justice Hill might have more of the upside. So at 3% rostered. And the other guys I'm looking at, Kenneth Gainwell, 46% rostered. He was able to play well in the Eagles offense, with Rashad Penny being a healthy scratch in this game. So Kenneth Gainwell, I think, is a guy that's going to be out there. Kyron Williams, 5% rostered. Tahaji Spears at 15% rostered was with the snap count that he was able to get. And, just in case, having a safety net. And then Joshua Kelly, probably the best game he looked like of his career, 4% rostered. I wouldn't go too crazy on him. Eichel's still there. We've seen we kind of know we know at this point for him, but I think it could be a deep league pickup, especially if the Chargers are in a lot of high point games.
Yeah. Any interest in Roschon Johnson, the rookie who finished as the RB8 on the week? I know the Bears fell into a lot of negative game script, but he seemed to hold down the pass catching work there for the Bears. So any interest in adding him potentially?
Yeah, no, a lot of his work was definitely in that second half when they were getting blown out. So I think he's worth the speculative ad. I think I would like to see a little bit more from him in the coming weeks. Because Khalil Herbert, he's a solid player, but I wouldn't say we're coming into the year and he's like the main workhorse guy. So I think there is room for another running back to be high value.
Yeah, and one of the things the Bears have constantly said they want Khalil Herbert to improve at is his ability to pass block. Roschon Johnson, that's one of his strengths coming out of the draft this year was his ability to pass block. So it seems like he'll be playing in more some of these pass down situations. But like we typically do with running backs in general, right? Like he's got this kind of built-in upside where if Khalil Herbert does suffer some sort of injury, maybe he takes some of the first down work along with what he already has in his pass game repertoire. So definitely would look to do that for sure. What about wide receiver? What do we got?
Yeah, deep list here, especially because of injuries and stuff. So from injuries, Deontay Johnson injured his hammy. Might be a concern down the line. So Allen Robinson, he's 2% rostered. He's out there. He had 8 targets. So I think the Steelers are gonna look to use him a little bit. So I mean, he's not at the top of the list, but I think from injuries, he's a guy out there. The Cooper Kupp injury, the 2 Rams receivers, obviously, of course, everyone coming to the week. Van Jefferson, of course, fantasy. And he's the only one that didn't get involved. Yeah, Puka Nakua, 2% rostered. Tutu Atwell, 3% rostered. They're both out there, especially if you're the Cooper Cup manager and you want to take a stab out of one of them. It wouldn't be mine for making them speculative ads. I think top guy on my list, if depending how the concussion protocol was, Jacoby Myers, 50% rostered. He's out there. Had a good game. He's gonna see a lot of good matchups because of Devonta Adams getting those top corners. Rashid Shaheed, he's 16% rostered. I've always been a fan of him. I think he can give you some good flex weeks down the line. And then Zay Jones, Romeo Doubs, and Darnell Mooney. More like Zay Jones and Romeo Doubs. I think Romeo Doubs is going to be up there in that kind of Jacoby Myers run for me. I think he's going to continue to play well, especially depending on how Christian Watson's hammy is looking. And then Robert Woods, last Robert Woods, 4% rostered, did get targeted 10 times in that game, so high volume for targets. So we know he could do. He's a veteran receiver, had some great years on the Rams. Wouldn't be surprised if he can give you some good solid wide receiver 3 value.
Yeah, man, I definitely like that list there. A lot of guys that could produce. It is a crapshoot, so just be mindful. Some of these guys aren't going to have these weeks every week. But if there's a guy like Puka Nakua is very interesting to me, man. I mean, I was not completely sold in the offseason. People kept he was not someone that my model liked very much. But Sean McVay, he knows how to pick them, and when it comes to receivers, he's the guy that he was very adamant about Cooper Kupp, and he was very adamant about Puka Nakua. So 15 targets in his first NFL game, turned into 10 receptions. I think I'm going to buy into that. And I just want to use this opportunity to I know Romeo Doubs didn't have like the biggest game. It was like 4 catches for 26 yards, had the 2 touchdowns. I just want to say I really like Romeo Doubs' game. Like, just reminds me of like an old school receiver. Like, he's not overly explosive. He's not very big. Not like really long and lanky, but he just makes plays on the ball, like contested catches, just goes up and gets it. And I just really like his game. So just wanted to use that opportunity to say that. But Greg, tight end position, what do we got when it comes to the waivers?
Tight end position, Hunter Henry, he's 16% rostered. Hayden Hurst, he's 11% rostered. So I think those are guys you can go out there. We talked about them in the breakdown for the top performances. Zach Ertz, he's 5% rostered, but he was targeted 10 times, abundant amount. So I think he's going to be used. Hopefully some of those throws become catchable. Didn't really make a lot with those 10 targets, but I think with the situation, Josh Dobbs had to forced to really to throw to him. Jake Ferguson, he's 38% rostered, and Logan Thomas, 2% rostered. Both those guys, at least 7 targets in their games. I talked about how Jake Ferguson, Dak Prescott, he's gonna look for a tight end, man, at some point and continue to do that. So I think out of these guys, Ferguson might have the highest upside. Hayden Hurst as well. I like him and to also give some top 12 weeks.
Love that list as well, man. Absolutely love that list. Well, y'all, it has been fun, but it's Monday night or it's Monday. Your boys got a Monday night game to hit. Hopefully the Jets can get this dub and really get the first win of the year in MetLife, because then it'll really.
You got to score for us and for you guys, so I'm gonna need y'all got to put up at least 30, something like that.
We will definitely see. We'll definitely see. I'm looking forward to that, man. Should be some good football for sure. But yeah, man. Without further ado, I got some hydrated. I got to go to the parking lot and get hydrated real quick. So I'll cut this one right here. We'll be back on here Wednesday, breaking down Thursday Night Football, breaking down part 1 of the game previews, giving out some streams of the week. So make sure you tap into that Wednesday, 3 p.m. live, or if you want to listen to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, all that good stuff, you can do that too. Just make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get those notifications when we do go live. Make sure you're following the show on Twitter at FF Diagnostics. Make sure you're following me on Twitter and Instagram. Change the Instagram and Twitter handle. It's at the real Jon Jeune _FF. Please don't put an H in my name because there's no H in John. And then Greg's at we_made it on Instagram, and the Twitter handle escapes me at this current moment in time. But we'll get it. We'll put it back on the podcast platform. See, Greg doesn't even.
Yeah, it changed to X too, so it's not even Twitter anymore. It's crazy.
It's not even Twitter anymore. It's crazy. But we'll be back on here Wednesday, 3 p.m. Make sure you tap in for that. Greg, anything you want to say to the people before we close this one out?
Just be better than the Giants, man. In your daily efforts, do what you do, man. Just be better than that.
All right, y'all. We're out of here. Have a good one. Peace.